Greetings, my name is Yanni Rodriguez Rosado, and I'm here to present the project The Utility of SPECT-CT and PET-CT in the diagnosis of traumatic brain injury at the VA Caribbean Healthcare System Retrospective Descriptive Study. This study was made at the VA Caribbean Healthcare System in San Juan, Puerto Rico, under the mentorship of Dr. Irma Molina. Traumatic brain injury, or TBI, is described as any damage to the brain sourced from external mechanical forces, including impact, blast waves, projectiles, etc. Patients who suffer from this injury are classified by severity, that is divided into three groups: mild, moderated, or severe TBI. This is very important for the VA Caribbean healthcare system because it is believed that approximately 20% of Iraq veterans suffered TBI in their lifetime. Because of this, recovery from this injury is one of the utmost important aspects to patients and families that go through the VA-CHS, but mechanisms of brain injury and recovery have been poorly described. What previous studies have shown is that simple positron-emitted computed tomography, or SPECT-CT, and positron emission tomography, or PET, have been workful tools to detect TBI lesion locations in patients. But we want to discover more info about how the SPECT-CT and PET-CT work on TBI patients to bring the utmost efficient and safe recovery period for our veteran TBI patients. With that in mind, the aims of this study are to describe the size and location of TBI lesions using SPECT-CT and PET-CT in patients with TBI. We want to assess physical, cognitive, and psychological symptomatology in veteran TBI patients. We want to estimate the association between brain perfusion and neuroimaging parameters in physical, cognitive, and psychological symptomatology. We also want to make an association between brain perfusion and neuroimaging parameters on cognitive and motor assessment scores. And finally, we like to create a sociodemographic and health characteristics profile of the veteran TBI patients. What we believe that we will get from this study is that functional nuclear medicine neuroimaging, like SPECT-CT and PET-CT, will adequately classify veterans returning from Operation Enduring Freedom, or OEF, Operation Iraqi Freedom, or OIF, and Operation New Dawn, or OND, with TBI into impairment groups based on the anatomical region affected. We also would like to see if we also predict that different brain impairment groups of TBI patients, according to the nuclear medicine neuroimaging findings, will correlate with different symptomatology. Now for the methodology. The study population are males and females returning from OEF, OIF, and or OND between 21 and 89 years old that were diagnosed with TBI at the VA-CHS. Retrospective data will be collected using the Computerized Patient Record System, or the CPRS. The inclusion criteria includes males and females between ages from 21 to 89 that are diagnosed with TBI at the VA-CHS and also have a PET-CT and SPECT-CT between January 1st, 2007 through September 30th, 2015. The exclusion criteria includes patients that have had a second episode of TBI, or they have another condition which, in the judgment of the investigator, is likely to hinder or confuse the study conduct. For the statistical analysis, we used, for some aims, the mean, standard deviation, quartiles, median, mode, and range for measure size data. We also use subtables and graphs, and we use the correlation coefficient with a linear regression model and odds ratio obtained from a linear regression model, a wall test, and likelihood ratio test to bring results from the aims that we would like to get with this study. These are preliminary results of the first 100 patients, and we will see first some neuroimaging results, and sociodemographic data from the first 100 patients. What we found is that in the SPECT-CT, the most prominent lesion region was the frontal lobe, both in the left and right hemisphere, while in the PET-CT, the right hemisphere was the only one who showed lesion location, which was in the frontal lobe and the thalamus. Now, for the sociodemographic data, what we found is that the majority of the study group were male in the average of 40 years of age. The majority were married or partnered, were white and Hispanic, and had some college experience but did not have a college degree. Now I will show you results from the TBI classification and the trauma mechanism that would imply that TBI classification. And what we saw is that the majority, or 70% of the first 100 patients had showed mild TBI, with another significant percent being 21% of the patient having a not specified severity of TBI. And regarding the trauma mechanism, we see that 71%, or the majority of these preliminary results, had blast or explosion as the explanation for this TBI. Now we want to see the cognitive, psychological, and physical symptomatology results from the first 100 patients. And what we found is that the most prevalent cognitive symptomatology was forgetfulness, that the most prominent psychological symptomatology was irritability, and the most prominent physical symptomatology was headaches, with sleep problems being a close second. Now, a summary of a small analysis we did of those results, of those preliminary results, is that correlations were presented within various criteria. We saw a correlation between TBI severity and memory problems presented by cognitive assessment score. It was a positive correlation, meaning that the higher TBI severity, the higher the memory problems presented were. We saw an increase in depression correlated with an increase in number of comorbidities, which means the number of diseases the patient had in the process of suffering from TBI. And we also saw a correlation between the age and depression diagnosis, saying that at a higher age had a more likely or more higher probability of having a depression diagnosis. We saw that the frontal lobe was the area with the most damage presented among patients in either the SPECT-CT or the PET-CT. We saw that headaches, irritability, and forgetfulness were the most common symptoms, which can possibly lead to a correlation with reporting neuroimaging results, showing that since we know that the frontal lobe was the area most affected, or the one that showed the most damage in these results. But since these are preliminary results of the first 100 patients, further statistical analysis is needed. Now, for a small conclusion, we see that patterns of preliminary data support expected results, meaning that our hypotheses are based on the preliminary results, they are achieved or positive, this hypothesis. But further analysis is needed to provide a full conclusion, because we still need to make the preliminary analysis for the rest of the patients, because this was a 150 patient study, but we only have results from the first 100 patients. Thank you so much for your time. If you have any questions or doubts regarding the study, please let me know and I will answer them to the best of my abilities. Thank you so much for your time.